All right, what is up, everybody? I want to give you just a quick update on Ethereum because what it did was absolutely massive. So, looking at ETH, what we can see is that ever since May of last year, about 10 months, we have been in what many call a symmetrical triangle. Now, generally speaking, when you're in a symmetrical triangle of this size, the breakout is usually of a very high magnitude, right? If you are in or within a structure or consolidating, especially within a structure for an extended period of time, that usually is kind of constraining and coiling that price, and when it's finally able to break out of it, volatility generally will increase quite substantially, leading to pretty solid gains or losses depending on what side you break out of. Now, the issue with that, though, is that, of course, considering the fact that this symmetrical triangle was at the bottom of a downtrend, many people were marking this off as some type of bearish flag that was going to lead to that further continuation, which was calling many people to believe that $500 was very possible for the Ethereum price. But what we can see is that although it did seem like that very likely was on the way, especially as we put in this double top here, of course, the moment that everything changed economically and we started to see banks collapse and the Fed starting to kind of ease off the gas a little bit here, that obviously did spin ETH in the opposite direction, sending it straight out the top side of this triangle. Now, what is the big deal here? Well, the big deal here is that, of course, what has been constraining us and rejecting the price over the last almost year is no longer there. And so obviously that does open up some doors of opportunity to the upside. So let me tell you what we need to see next and exactly how I'm going about this. So whenever you see a symmetrical triangle of this nature, what we generally know is that the most previous point of resistance is going to act as a major point of rejection when you break out. I know that's a mouthful, but let me explain. So what you can see here is that as we did establish this triangle, we of course had two major touches back here. So what that means is that whenever we break out of this triangle, your most recent touch on that point of resistance is going to be the biggest barrier that you have. That means that although it is likely that ETH does work its way back up to $2,000, until we are capable of clearing this obstacle at $2,040, we need not get too excited just yet, because a strong likelihood here is that we get rejected and we have to come back to backtest this previous point of resistance and possibly even this trend line before we can look for real continuation, the real move to the upside not happening until we break that 2040 level. And so because this is so important, what I'm personally doing is I am accumulating a little bit more Ethereum right now because we are no longer being trapped under this, but I am still kind of holding off because I'm aware of how much of an obstacle this 2040 level is. Another thing you have to be aware of is that could align perfectly with the narrative that the Shanghai upgrade is going to bring some sell pressure to ETH. Who knows, maybe we work our way up, and then we get that Shanghai upgrade, which does cause some sell pressure, which just coincide perfectly with the charts here and lead to a bit of a sell-off before we can see some type of continuation. That is well within the realm of possibility. Another thing you need to pay attention to is the fact that our Bollinger Bands on the daily charts are extremely overextended to the top side, which does usually say that, hey, a pullback is going to happen at some point. Not only is it on the dailies, but it is also on the weeklies. And what you can see is that in these moments, either to the top side or to the bottom side, we usually do get these moves back in the direction of that 20 simple moving average, as you can see. And so although I do believe ETH is set to run and it does seem as if it wants to make a bit of a move, it's not going to shock me whatsoever if we do get a pullback of some sort. And so because of that, I'm not rushing right now. I'm not in a situation where I'm screaming from the rafters saying that we only got 5 days to buy ETH before it moons to $7,000. No, nothing like that. I think that the path between here and $2,000 may be a little bit grim. We may be still a little bit of a pullback and then a pullback, and then we may come up to touch it. But until we're capable of getting above this, there is this massive rejection that very well could push us to the downside and slow this whole move down before ETH is really able to continue to the top side. I do believe that over the long term, over the next 12 to 24 months, that ETH is going to see more green than red. Look at our monthly RSI. This tells me everything I need to know. This thing has seen full reset, double bottom around that 42 level. That was the bottom of the market back in 2019, and I have no reason to believe that this is not the bottom for ETH right now. I do not think genuinely it's about to come back down under $860 unless something absolutely devastating happens to crypto as a whole. So sure, could it come back down and maybe come back towards $1,200 and start to have to retest on a lower level? Sure, it could. Do I think that's going to necessarily happen? No, not necessarily. I think we have a little bit more room to run before seeing a cool down and then in continuation. But it doesn't matter to me because over the long term, I do believe that we have more green coming than we have red coming, okay? But one way or another, I'm not rushing because the key word there is long term. So where I'm at right now is that I do believe 2040 is still the barrier. That is still the level we need to be very aware of. And I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself until we are capable of clearing it. But I have increased my rate of accumulation just a bit because we have finally been able to break this massive point of resistance that has, rejected the price and kind of constrained the price for nearly a year now. So overall, I'm increasingly more bullish. I do believe some people are getting a little bit too euphoric right now, and so that could lead to a cool down or a pullback, which I'm ready to accumulate in. But one way or another, I do see a lot of green coming over the next couple years here, and so I did want to share with you all that this was a major step for Ethereum, and because of that, I personally am increasing my rate of accumulation by at least 5 to 10% every single week. And so with that said, of course, I hope you guys did enjoy today's just quick update, and I will see you all next time. Peace.